Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. I've got another video for you today on the rhythm of the room. I have noticed a distinct change over the last few weeks as the seasons start changing. A little bit of cooler and wetter weather has kicked my snakes into gear. As you know, out here in the tropics we do not use heat mats, so there are no artificial heating or lighting cycles in the room. The snakes respond to the natural climate outside. And yes, they are very much aware of what's going on outside. And their natural rhythms actually follow what I would expect a snake to behave like in the wild. Let's have a look at what's happening and how the rhythm of the room is changing. The weather is cooler now. There's been quite a bit of rain. It's quite cool outside, especially on an evening at night time. And I have my first candidate for free roaming again. While the weather's been really hot, all the snakes have been hunkered down and not moving very much. Now that it's gone cooler, the snakes are starting to get active again. And this is my black pastel female. She's not being paired at the moment. She did reabsorb earlier in the season, but she is now out and about and doing the free roaming thing. Interesting. This happens when the weather gets cooler. So I'm just going to let her get on with it while I continue my cleaning. Here she is, checking out the dirty bedding from a juvenile male's tub. He is probably about reaching sexual maturity, but she's definitely giving it more than just a once over. And then of course, as ever, the bin is a drawer for all of my snakes. And the hand phone. Very easy to handle the snakes when they're in this inquisitive mode. They just use you as a piece of furniture to crawl on and don't even recognize the fact that they are being handled. So if you can manage it, this is the most unintrusive method of handling your snakes. This girl is very insecure here on this edge of this table here. Let me just help her out a little bit. There she goes. Come on girl, sort yourself out. There. Oh. And off she goes again to the IKEA paper rack. And I have a breeding pair of snakes in this tub here, and she's very interested in that. She's trying desperately to get inside the tub with these guys. Very difficult to actually stop her from doing that. But I do have two snakes that are locked up inside here, and she finds the smell very attractive. So there's a breeding male and female in this tub. and she wants in. And her reaction to the tub above, which has a male in it, and she's in there as well. Goodness. Let's try her with one more male, this one here. Yes, she wants to go in that tub too. Another female, Pastel Enchi, suddenly decides to get active. And this female, incidentally, has not eaten since January, so about 7 months without eating. And she's not exactly skinny, hasn't lost much weight at all. But she's been pretty lethargic, and now all of a sudden she's woken up. So the rhythm of the room and the changing seasons have kicked this girl into gear as well. So it's the females at the moment that seem to be interested in free roaming, and interesting that this girl has been on hunger strike for quite a while. I say hunger strike, she's been estivating, she hasn't eaten, but she hasn't lost much condition or weight, and I'm suspecting that this is a prelude to breeding behaviour, so she will start eating and packing on weight and start growing follicles. So I'm letting her free roam so that she can explore the scents around her in the room and perhaps leave her own calling card, so that males can find her, because I'm assuming that the changing seasons have changed her hormones, and that is actually what she's looking for. And again, when they're in this mode, this is a perfect time to handle them. When they're in this exploring mode, they do not seem to notice the fact that they are being touched. This girl is not socialised, hardly ever handled, and yet I can actually handle this girl. I can pick her up and she doesn't seem to notice or care. Completely indifferent to me, she is on a different mission. Here we go, onto the IKEA scent rack. And instantly we get a response, a reaction, and she's now engaged in whatever it is that interests these snakes on the IKEA paper rack. Here she is doing it. So another female exhibiting similar behaviour, and this one, interestingly enough, has been estivating and hasn't eaten for around about 6 or 7 months. Has not lost a great deal of weight, as you can see. She is actually in very good condition. But it would appear that her hormones have kicked in and there's been a behavioural change. Let's see if she starts eating in association with that change in the rhythm of the room. We like to call this behaviour exploring, but I think it is much more structured, much more purposeful, and much more single-minded than exploring. This is not aimless wandering. This is very structured, very measured, and she has a specific purpose when she does this. You can see how closely she is examining every surface that might have the scent of other snakes on. She's concentrating now on some hatchling bedding, which I removed from some tubs because I transitioned the hatchlings to a bigger tub, and the paper was still clean, but obviously it does still carry the scent of those other snakes. So exploring is a term we would use, going somewhere to find out what's there. This is not what she is doing. This is not exploring. This is actually snakes remotely socializing. They don't come into contact with each other, but they can certainly smell each other and gain all the information they need about other snakes in the vicinity, and in particular their readiness to breed, from scent. And that is what this girl is doing. She is not exploring to find out what's there. She already knows what's there. And the important thing about this behaviour is the sudden shift in this female from being completely inactive, not wanting to eat, being fast asleep in her tub every time the tub was open. She hasn't eaten, she hasn't pooed, so she hasn't needed to be cleaned out very often, and now all of a sudden she's become active. So the change in behaviour is just as significant as the individual behaviours themselves. So we need to stop her from going underneath the racks, because obviously there are lots of interesting scents in and around the other racks, so we need to stop her from going in there because it'll be very hard to get her out. But that is actually what she's seeking. So let's just rescue her from that. So you can see that I'm now actually having to thread her out forwards because she won't come out backwards. And it's amazing how this girl can hang on, and I cannot pull her out until she actually lets go. So here we go, we're now threading her out. There we go. So here we go. The usual drawer for snakes that are free roaming is the bin full of the scents of other snakes in the room. Full of dirty bedding, which she is thoroughly checking out. And now we have males starting to get with the program. All the snakes appear to be getting a little bit more active. This guy has just shed, possibly indicating a change in hormones. That would be quite normal. The shedding process is controlled by hormones, so maybe this shed, this male has now switched on to the rhythm of the room. So he's free roaming. Let me see if I can give him something that will interest him. I'll put the bin down here. As usual, it's the IKEA paper rack that is the drawer for these guys. This guy is sniffing around just like a bloodhound. Nose tight to the ground. Awesome. The room is starting to come alive. And as usual, it's the bin with dirty snake bedding. And if this goes according to form, this guy will happily dive in there head first and disappear for as long as I leave him. Just gonna ease him down here without startling him. Fully engrossed. And I can continue to clean here without any difficulty at all. The snake just does not care. He's on a different mission. So he's not going to flinch and ball up when I move around. He's completely indifferent to my presence. So here's the first of the males that have started to want to come out and free roam. Another indication that the rhythm of the room is changing. These snakes do not behave in the same way all year round. They do not live the same way all year round. They spend long periods of inactivity where they don't eat much and they don't move much, and presumably in the wild they'd be underground. And then at the start of the breeding season they suddenly wake up and become active. Females and males. We shouldn't be surprised at the massive change in seasonal behaviour. This would be perfectly normal. So we also shouldn't criticise when our snakes just want to curl up in a tiny tub and not do anything, because that's what they would be doing in the wild. Once we see that change in behaviour and give them the opportunity to free roam when they want to free roam, this is a great indicator of the changing seasons and the changing hormonal cycles in our snakes. So there he goes, happy as can be, burying himself in all that dirty bedding from the other snakes. A perfect free roaming activity. Now, as I've said many times, I live in the tropics and do not use heat mats, and I go with the natural cycle of the seasons, the rhythm of the room. So I'm not too worried when my snakes estivate. I'm not too worried when my snakes don't eat for months at a time. They all do it at the same time. They're all responding to the rhythm of the room, and they all snap out of it naturally when the seasons change. Now, most of us will be keeping our snakes in temperate climates and we have to use heat mats, but the seasons still change and your snakes are still sensitive to that, even though you're keeping them in an artificial environment. I much prefer to go with the rhythm of the room, let the snakes do their own thing, and they will come good with the seasons. So each to his own. I prefer to read my snakes, watch the changing seasons and get with the rhythm of the room, rather than try to control my snakes by artificial cooling cycles, which generally I've noticed do get the snakes to breed, but also come with all sorts of associated feeding problems. These snakes are designed to shut down for long periods and not eat. It's perfectly natural for them to do that. We don't need to worry. As long as the snakes are healthy, they will all snap out of it, usually all at the same time with the changing seasons. Okay guys, drop down into the comments section if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.